This is a Glitterball podcast. Before we get into today's episode, please remember I'm judging these housemates based solely off of an edit and not as total people. Please don't send them any hate, it's just a game show. It's time to talk about our celebrities' first full day inside the 2016 house, and boy oh boy is there a lot to get into, from very controversial bed arrangements to finally freedom. Yes, we're going to talk about it all in this episode of He's Always Watching. Hello Fishbowl friends, and welcome to the second episode of our 2016 Celebrity Big Brother Rewind. And we have a lot to get into because we've seen freedom from the box, we've seen somebody join the box, and we've had some very controversial bedding arrangements. Oh, and some killer nominations. So let's get into this episode, shall we? Where we left off, we had seen our celebrities enter the house, and we were left with the cliffhanger of who would be joining John and Darren in the box. And that person who sacrificed themselves so that everybody else could have the bedroom was Daniela. So Daniela joined John and Darren in the box, which meant the bedroom was unlocked for the rest of the house, and they were now a trio. This is quite an interesting trio, with all of them being actors. I'm like, this could provoke some very interesting conversation. However, I'm going to jump straight into some task action, because hello, you know what this show is, right? And we saw Stephanie, Scotty T, and Jeremy all decided as the most annoying housemates from our group. Now this will be important for two reasons, one of which we will get to now, and one of which we will come to a little later on. That is, first of all, that they were the three chosen to free our three boxed up housemates. I'm noticing a trend here, Big Brother, doing everything in freeze. What's going on there? They were given what may as well be now seen as a time-honoured tradition in the Big Brother verse of trying to unlock a box with a mountain of keys. Each of them had a box, and each of them needed to unlock it to free the boxed up housemate. And in just over 2 hours, they managed to do it. So that meant that our three boxed up housemates were freed in under, 48 hours? So, you know what? This is a task we'd probably see in modern day, because they weren't in there that long. Even though, I've got to be honest with you, the length of that episode made it feel like they were in there for like 3 days. But they weren't. I've got to say, it's very interesting going back to the less snappy edit style that we had during the Channel 5 era. I found this quite bizarre because I didn't realize how used to the snappier editing of modern Big Brother I am. I don't dislike it, but it's certainly an adjustment to what I am used to. Getting back into the action, I wanted to point out the conversation between Christopher Maloney and Mr. David Guest, with Christopher talking about his experience during the X Factor. This made me quite sad, to be honest, because you had Christopher really opening up to how he struggled with his image after being on the juggernaut that show was, and the public response to him. And on the flip side, you had David Guest being like, do not get any more plastic surgery. And I found the connection between those two really fascinating, because you could see David take Christopher under his wing, and I was like, this is really fascinating to watch, and a very lovely moment in amongst all the chaos of all of these people being in this bonkers house. So will we see those two grow closer, or is this just a blip on the radar as kind of everybody's still in that get to know you phase? I must say, it was a very surprisingly calm first full day. I expected there to be a little bit more feathers ruffled, but we have started to see the cracks, because Angie has had enough of Jonathan Cheban already, and we've also seen the house start to turn against Winston, which we'll unpack a little bit more very shortly. But I want to circle back to Angie and Jonathan, because this one surprised me, and I'd love to know where this actually occurred, because the thing is, we didn't see any footage. We only heard Angie's audio, in which she kind of told Jonathan to put a sock in it, you obnoxious American. And I was like, oh, this is a bit of an odd moment. There is no footage. Were they in some sort of holding room? Were they, like, what actually happened here? Because while it kind of gave us context as to why she was annoyed, we didn't really get the context as to what was happening when she was annoyed. So it was kind of partial continuity, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But I would not like to be up against Angie. I don't think that's a good idea. And I don't think Jonathan is necessarily the one to go up against somebody like that, because I do not think he will be able to hold his own like she certainly will. After the break, we're going to get into that controversial bed changing moment, and we're going to get into our very first set of nominations. But these ones have a twist. Welcome back, Fishbowl friends. It is time to talk about our very first set of nominations. And these ones have a twist, because our trio of most annoying housemates weren't quite let off the hook by Big Brother now, were they? No. Big Brother was like, you may have freed some housemates, but they're going to be extra pleased when they find out they're not the ones nominating, you are. And I was like, oop. Okay, Big Brother, way to just surprise our unlucky trio. And poor Stephanie, she looked like she was about to have an absolute nervous breakdown. And I've got to be honest with you, if nominations were sprung on me like that, I probably would have too. Okay, so our celebrities facing the very first eviction are Nancy, Winston, and Christina. So let's unpack these. Because Jeremy nominated Nancy because he finds her intimidating? Or is that just a cop-out? Because I don't know. Look, you've known these celebrities for 24 hours at best. And I just feel like it came across as though his nomination of Nancy was a cop-out. I feel like both Scotty T and Stephanie gave better reasons for their nominations, whereas Jeremy's just kind of felt like a nothing burger. Whereas Scotty, who nominated Winston for the food, I found quite interesting. One, because I was like, I didn't realize you were the house chef, Scotty. That's really fascinating. I must have missed something there. And then Stephanie, look, I feel like this is a reasonable nomination. I know, shocking, me calling a nomination reasonable. But especially within the first 24 hours, I understand her being like, I have my group of friends and we're kind of childish. I don't want to upset people, but I want to have fun. And if Christina is being a bit of a stick in the mud, then I can understand why Stephanie is like, nah, this ain't it for me. Hopefully that can change as time goes on if she isn't evicted. But I actually feel like it's a reasonable nomination, especially this early on. And props to most of them for delivering good nomination reasons in quite the sticky situation. Even though poor Stephanie did look like she was going to faint. Interesting little side note that I'm sure we'll come back to. Jeremy and Stephanie, very comfortable together. Just put a pin in that one, you know why. Alright, to round out this whistle-stop tour of our celebrities' first full 24 hours, it's time to talk about the bed arrangements. Now that 3 more housemates have been freed, there is obviously a slight issue in the bed arrangements, but a slight issue became a giant freaking chasm. While Nancy seemed to be fine with sharing with Christina, Winston, on the other hand, was very much not okay because he didn't want to share a bed with a fellow male housemate. And he really dug in his heels. Now look, obviously this aired in 2016, and obviously this is an edit of this show. This was not okay then, and I don't really think it's okay now. I'm just gonna say it as it is. He really dug in his heels, and especially after the behaviour we witnessed with Tiffany, where he was kind of all over her. I haven't even spoken about those two exercising together. I don't know what Tiffany thought she was doing there, because I feel like that may have egged him on a little bit. This is just absolutely bizarre and crazy to me. It's like, fine, sleep on the floor. Put a pillow between the two of you. Because you probably would have had to have done that if you were sharing with a woman. Like, I was like, what am I witnessing here? Anyway, the house, this really ruffled feathers, understandably. And I don't know if it's going to serve Winston very well with the public either, come eviction day. But there you have it. That is our whistle stop tour of the first full 24 hours for our celebrities inside that house. They are finally all one conjoined kumbaya family, but how long will that last? We have already seen the cracks forming with Jonathan and Angie. We are seeing everybody get riled up at Winston. What will happen come eviction night? Well, you don't have to wait very long, because I'll see you very soon for another episode of our recap. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below over on YouTube, or you can come and say hello over on socials, or leave me a comment on Spotify at He's Always Watching Pod for the socials. Thank you for being here. I will see you soon. And in the meantime, remember, Big Brother's not the only one who's always watching.